I've got some key points that I want to raise, yeah, because as you know, we will begin our final reply on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Although the time allotted is 2 days, I have a strange feeling it'll be slightly more than that, yeah, maybe 3, hopefully not 4, but we think definitely almost it's going to be beyond 2. Okay, now. First, I want to tell you that I have given you some summary previously, but I want to touch on some points which I think you may be concerned about. Now, I do not know whether you are fully appraised of the facts that there was this issue. How could Datuk Sri Najib have this knowledge or belief that monies in fact came from donations? Now you remember, even Datuk Sitam admits that there were monies from the Saudis. Now we have on proof that at least several tranches amounting to at least 642 million, not a small amount, were in fact sent from either the Riyadh Ministry of Finance, nothing less, Ministry of Finance in Riyadh, which is a Saudi Arabian Ministry of Finance, that sent it. Then there are others, like for instance, Prince Faisal and another prince. So they were altogether 3 individuals, all from Riyadh, that sent the money to Datuk Sri Najib's account. Even that, Datuk Sri Najib never actually know, except that he believed that there's going to be a lot of money that came into his account and would be coming into his account. It is for that reason the bank was alerted, M-Bank was alerted, not only by the 4 letters from from Saudi Arabia, but also from Datuk Sri Najib's own letters, alerting Bank Negara and M-Bank that he was expecting. This is contemporaneous document. I mean, as the event was unfolding, the document was provided to the bank that he was expecting a lot of donation from Saudi Arabia. So this was stated even before the money came in, and then the money came in. Now, he also gave evidence, as you know, that there was this meeting with the Saudi king, the late Saudi king. Now, the defense, or rather the prosecution, made a lot of issue pertaining to these witnesses that we call. They say, is it on the 11th or is it on the 13th onward, but in the same month? The difference is only 2 days. This event took place 10 years ago. If we wanted to fix the evidence will be perfect. The dates we can ensure everybody sees the same date, but we didn't tamper with the witnesses. We take their statement as it is. 2 witnesses said it was on the 11th. Same month, same year. One witness said he can't remember whether it was in the 11th because the official meeting started on the 13th. So he says most probably it was 13th, according to one witness, the minister, Datuk Sri Anifah Aman. But Minister Khair, the ambassador, and Datuk Sri Najib think it was on the 11th. So the question that I want to ask you, Datuk Sitam himself said in his submission that when witnesses give evidence, there will be some irregularity because no witness gave a perfect evidence because of memory, lapse of time of 10 years and all that. So in this case, you just have to think about, are these discrepancies material. Because all these witnesses, these are powerful witnesses. They are ex-ministers, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister in charge of Tabung Haji and Religious Affairs, and Datuk Sri Najib himself, and our own ambassador, who is completely independent. And he says this meeting took place. And what is important is, after the meeting, you remember, we said this before, they were walking away from the king. They were going towards their car. They had to pass through this corridor-like thing. Remember, of paintings, horses and all that? Datuk Sri Najib actually asked two of the ministers, did I hear correctly that he wants me to open private account for the money to come in, the financial help to come in? And the two ministers confirmed. That's what we heard. Two ministers, Khair confirmed and Anifah Aman confirmed. The ambassador did not hear, okay? But ambassador said he was a little behind. So the question is whether there was a meeting is overwhelming. How could you fabricate evidence about this meeting which actually took place? The official meeting is from 13 to 15 or something like that. But they say they arrived slightly earlier and there was this unofficial meeting. Anifah Aman thought there was an unofficial meeting, but it was on the 13th, before the official meeting started. So 10 years ago event, you can forgive him for forgetting. In fact, we do not know who is saying the right thing, 11 or 13. That is all the difference. The actual meeting actually took place. Now, then we have this witness, Datuk Husni. Now, I do not know whether you attended the trial. You can see that Datuk Husni was a person full of complaints, not very satisfied with the fact that he was Minister of Finance too, and then suddenly he was being transferred as a minister in charge of EPU. He thought it was a demotion. Yeah, he thought it was a demotion. I would not have thought it was a demotion, because if you are going to go up, surely you have to take a rotation. Sometimes you're Minister of Finance, sometimes you're Minister of Defence or Education. Nobody should think like that. But he thought MOF2 was his place. He admitted that he felt that it was a demotion. And with that anger, he came and gave evidence. And he said, I went to see Datuk Sri Najib. I offered my help. I said, I want to go to Switzerland. I want to confirm about this money that has gone into Zurich. Okay? When he approached, the entire board of SRC, you remember Tan Sri Ismi have said, he said, I took the entire board, I went to the bank, we confirmed the money is there. The money, remember the first 2 billion, and there was another 2 billion that went to Hong Kong and all that, but he said the money that we sent was still there, the bank assured it to us. Now, that testimony came out from Tan Sri Ismi. I want to ask you this question. The judge asked, the trial judge asked Tommy Thomas and say, what is so difficult about confirming this? Can you confirm if the money was there? Because witnesses are saying the money was there. And Tommy Thomas, as an AG, had the audacity of saying, I will have to check on this. This is when he was already prosecuting this case. How can the prosecution or MACC have not checked this matter about the money of slightly less than 2 billion being in Zurich? Okay? So I think this is another matter that either the prosecution or the MACC has been hiding from us, because if the money is there, as we think it is, because the entire board think it is there, then where is this element of at least half of the 4 billion being missing? Now, the other set of money is in Hong Kong, Julius Baer and the Falcon Bank. No evidence was given by the prosecution. You see, we cannot investigate. Datuk Sri Najib cannot investigate because he's not in SRC. But the investigation was undertaken by MACC, and the prosecution can demand can we see what happened to the Julius Baer money, what happened to Falcon Bank, and more importantly, what happened to the Switzerland money, which they say the bank confirmed there is. Don't you think this evidence is critical to show why is it critical is, you remember the 2 billion and the 2 billion went out, went out on the same day. It went out to this bank. And that's why the argument is the 42 million from the 4 billion? The answer is clearly it is not. Correct? So, in order to ensure that that gap is closed, the prosecution should have investigated and tell us in the court that the money that went to Switzerland is still available. Here is the account. And the money that went to Hong Kong, here is the account. It has not gone lost. If it has gone lost, more reason, I think, the prosecution would have tendered that evidence. Why? Because it will hit Datuk Seri Najib harder. So we now wonder why they have not produced those evidence. And I suspect they do not produce those evidence because those 4 billion, at least most of it, is still intact in the 3 banks. Why it is frozen? You see, as an AG, Tan Sri Tommy Thomas, he would have easily been able to convince these banks, especially the Swiss one, because the money is from SRC, the money is from Kuap. Why do you freeze it? It doesn't matter what happened in between about the 42 million. We're talking about SRC money. Why are you freezing my money? As an Attorney General, he could tell that to the Swiss authority. You have to unfreeze it and send it back to us. He could have gone to Hong Kong, confront Falcon Bank and Julius Baer with the same way that he could do it with Switzerland. None of this happened. So Husni came along after all this thing has been done. Husni, you can see from the personality of Husni, with the greatest of respect to him, the Malay will call him a bit lembab and lembek. He suggested that he goes to Switzerland. Now, in the context of what has happened already, do you think what Datuk Seri Najib said, you don't need to go, is unreasonable? And Husni make a song and dance out of it because he claimed, because of his anger that he was transferred, he said that Datuk Seri Najib prevented him from finding out about the money. So, if you interpret it in the context of what I say, that is not a truthful statement. Now, that is as far as Husni is concerned. Now, you remember this story about opening of, shifting of goalposts and whether you kick into your own goalpost. We are the one who pressured the prosecution and the MACC because we discovered that there were BlackBerry messengers that the Bank Negara has got and preserved. And Bank Negara, that was an officer I cross-examined, the same name as my son Farhan. You remember this guy Farhan, he said, I recorded it, I transferred it into another disk, and I gave it to the MACC. So that came out like that. So the prosecution was not very comfortable with the evidence coming out because they were hiding it. So we asked for those BlackBerry messengers to be given. They resisted. It was, I think, about 4 days of argument, and finally we got. The judge was, we pressured the judge, and the judge gave us the thing. And then when we received it, they took the whole, I think, 1 month to give, more than that, more than 1 month to give us the BlackBerry messenger. I don't know what they did with it, but whatever we got, we knew why they didn't want to give it to us to begin with, because it shows that Nik Faisal was not communicating with the bank. Nik Faisal was the only person who is authorized to be the representative. They call it the mandate holder, to deal with the bank. The bank did not deal with Nik Faisal, and Nik Faisal was not communicating. And when we cross-examine the bank and we say, hey, you did not communicate with Nick Faisal, but you were communicating with this character you call boss, you call brother, and you call our friend. And then we asked her, who is this person? Finally, Joanna Yu confirmed is Jolo. Okay? So, our defense become a lot better because we have said Datuk Sri Najib never communicated either himself or through Nick Faisal. You remember, if today I want to speak to my bank, assuming I have got not much, let's say I've got 3 million, and I said I'm close with my bank, and I said I want to do some transfer and all that. Do you know that when you call your bank about accounts, your conversation is automatically recorded. And that has been happening for the last 20 years. Yeah? Everybody knows that. So if Datuk Sri Najib called, it would have been recorded. Either BlackBerry Messenger or in the main system. That's what happened with Jolo. Jolo was not recorded on the main system. It is not the bank system. Can you believe it? This BlackBerry phone were given to the bank officers by Jolo. Given to them free. You know, it's like almost Hari Raya gift. Give to them, have it. You communicate only with using BlackBerry with me. You do not communicate with the official phone system or the system of the bank. This is Jolo instruction to the bank officers. Okay? So you just think about it. If everything is above board with Jolo and the bank, why do you do a secret communication on the BlackBerry? We are quite thankful to Bank Negara because they did a sudden raid, and that's how they found there is a BlackBerry Messenger put aside by the individuals, including Joanna Yu, and they got it, and it is from those BlackBerry Messenger, Bank Negara was quite shocked that communication was private, not only about transferring of money, but there were also times when they say, do not communicate with Datuk Sri Najib. You remember there was once by mistake, they sent a credit card account, or rather statement, to PMO. One of the officers, you see, sometimes God help you in mysterious ways. The officer saw it, went to see Datuk Sri Najib, presumably. Datuk Sri Najib said, go and find out what it is. So the officer called up the bank, and the bank was alerted that, oh, Datuk Sri Najib came to know about this. Or at least one officer came to know about this. The next thing that happened was within minutes, Jolo called up Joanna Yu and other officers and scolded them. Said, why did you communicate this matter with the Prime Minister? So I want you to think about it. Why is Jolo taking so much effort and the bank was working with him to keep away from Datuk Sri Najib or at least from Nick Faisal the nature of the accounts and the amount of money going in and out, how much is balanced and all that. You see, this is consistent with him not knowing. The evidence has been led and prosecution confirmed. Datuk Sri Najib confidently issue checks. You see, a man thinks, Datuk Sri Najib thinks, I've got so much money coming from Saudi, he just issue check. And that's why he said, I have a feeling that there is money, enough money, because there's billions there coming from Saudi. 9 or 10 times the checks will bounce because there's not enough money. Okay? He didn't know. Can you imagine a Prime Minister knowing his account that there is no money, issue check, bagi dekat UMNO, bagi kat this? Do you think he would do that? That act itself shows his state of mind being, he doesn't know. I have no knowledge of the state of my account. And that's why I issue my check. And who ran around to make sure that there is money? Very ad hoc kind of practices. It was Jolo and the bankers. You remember there was at one time Joanna Yu put her own money in order to make sure the checks will not bounce. Why would these people do that? Unless there is conspiracy between the bankers and Jolo and others. And of course, the top management of SRC, I'm not talking about the directors, because the directors pretended to play dumb, totally dumb. Sitting there, they said they don't know what's happening. They don't know money coming. They didn't know the 2 billion left. They didn't even know of a secret account of SRC. They didn't know that there was such an account. Okay, so the top management of SRC was playing the fool, was communicating definitely with what's her name, with Joanna as well as others in the bank. Okay, now then we have also touched. You remember who is their most critical witness? Their most critical witness is Datuk Subuh. If you take Datuk Subuh away, their case collapsed. Why? Datuk Subuh was the only live witness they call that says at one point of time, and then it changes, and he says he signed the 3 instructions constituting the 42 million. Okay, he gave 5 statements to the MACC. We didn't know this until we cross-examined. When we cross-examined, we realized he admitted he gave 5 statements. And I said, I want to know. That was during my cross-examination. I said, I want to know what are the dates. So they gave the dates. Some dates before the election of 2018, some date just after the 2018, and some dates when he was pressured by MACC to come back. You remember he ran away to Bangkok, he ran away to Indonesia, and he ran away even to Dubai. Yeah, Emirates, somewhere. Huh? And he was hunted down and he came back. And he confirmed out of the 5 statements, 2 statements, he denied that is his signature. Okay? He denied it is his signature to the MACC. But when he was called to give evidence, the MACC, together with the prosecution, prepared witness statement. In the witness statement, surprise, surprise, he said, yeah, it is my statement. It is my signature. He said that. Okay? All these came out during cross-examination. So we confronted him with the transparencies, you remember? He was shocked because all 17 signatures look like one. It's superimposed on top of the other. You understand? So he then said, I would not have said this is my signature if the MACC had showed it to me the way you showed it to me in court. So he was complaining about the way MACC recorded his statement. All right? Now, because MACC obviously just show him one by one. Now, you remember Datuk Sitam said, so what? The check cleared it. What do you call it? SRC never complained. This is in the context, the bank is complicit in some kind of conspiracy. Remember, I've just told you already. Who is in SRC? Who prepared those checks? Because now this witness said, it's not my signature. And what is worse, Datuk Sitam has made it worse because he said, forget about yours. Even Nick Faisal's signature is also forged because it's all look like one signature cut and paste. Okay? So the prosecution now say, it doesn't matter because they're trying to follow the judge's argument. You see, you must know the judge is from a background of banking. He was in Maybank before. And then he practiced in Security Commission. He says, nothing wrong, what? He said. In his ground of judgment, he said, there's nothing wrong. Because this is a usual thing. You try to send your check today to your own bank, even for a miserable 1,000 ringgit. If your signature doesn't match, or you say, can I send it to you by way of fax? Unless you arrange properly with the bank, they will not oblige. Now, the arrangement with the bank is this. I will send you by way of email the scanned copy. Okay? And then I will follow within 48 hours the original hard copy. Okay? Datuk Sitam's argument will be good if the scanned copy that went and then subsequently the hard copy that went is matching. Okay? The hard copy, whenever it was sent, out of 17, only I think about 6 that went, hard copy. Okay. When we got the hard copy, we compared with the scanned copy, which is supposed to be identical. This document, the signature is different from the one they sent. The one that is scanned is Datuk Subuh's signature, but he didn't sign it because they took it from cut and paste. But when the bank said, we want the hard copy, where is your hard copy? They were forced to forge with free hand on the hard copy. And when I showed Datuk Subo, he says, this is not mine. All the 7 that I showed him, he said, this is not mine. You remember I told the story of the signature being fat. It looked like a fat turkey as compared to the scanned copy, which is his signature, which was a lot thinner in size and also in the figure. So quite clearly, they could not prove who moved the 42 million. Who moved the 42 million from SRC? If you cannot prove who moved the 42 million from SRC, how do you conclude Datuk Sri Najib was the one who was the agent of SRC, who's got shadow director powers? He influenced everybody. And he is the one who caused the money to be transferred to his account. Where is the evidence? Because they called Datuk Subo for that purpose. And Datuk Subo, remember, tried to say, I signed. Nick Faizal also signed. He lied because he tried to go back in memory. Because he thought that is his signature, I must have signed. And he said, I must have signed it because Nick Faizal have signed it. But when we said, this is not your signature, he agreed this is not. And he, in fact, he said, nobody can sign identically. No human being can do it. So if he says that this is not his signature, what happened to the story about who actually transferred it? If you do not know who transferred it, who is it that Datuk Sri Najib instructed? Because they cannot even identify the person. Neither Nick Faizal nor Datuk Subo. So this is why who transferred the 42 million is absolutely critical. It is their plank. It is the plank of their case. It's the central pillar of their case. If you don't have it, you're dead. The case should drop automatically. Okay? That's why we are stressing on it. Now, the next one, they make a big hoo-ha about. We thought it is interesting. But before I move to the next, so you can see who moved the goalpost. Because from wanting to prove 42 million was signed by these two, they now say no need. Who cares who signed? The money went into your account. If money come into my account, let's say money come into my account from my own firm, Shafi & Co. Let's say I've got many partners. Partners never approve it. Money just came into my account. If you want to charge me for CBT of Shafi & Co., you have to prove that somehow or other I have knowledge that this money came. And you have to prove who sent it to me. Maybe I myself, because I am the principal of Shafi & Co. You have to show. None of this was shown. Okay? So, talking about we kick into our own goalpost is utter nonsense. Because we are still with the benefit that from a simple case of 42 million, Subo and Nick Faizal signed, now you say no need their evidence. Because their witnesses were trampled gloriously, finished. Yeah? But the judge, in dealing with Subo's testimony, we are shocked. On Tuesday, you will hear whether I'm justified or not in using certain words in relation to the judgment. Yeah? I may have to repeat it, but you will be surprised that I'm going to give the list of things what the judge said in his judgment, because I've not dealt it like that. Since we were challenged today, I'm going to deal with it one by one and tell you how the judge have dealt with it. In Subo, he said he's an old man, he had some kind of, stroke. He may have forgotten. But what are you talking about, he forgotten? He said that's not my signature. And he said, if MACC had shown it to me like that, I would have known this is not my signature. He said it. So why is the judge saying I can accept his statement because he had a stroke? Why do you provide a reason when the witness said, this is not my signature because you have just demonstrated to me this is not my signature and you have demonstrated to me the hard copy is not mine? That's the end of the matter. Why do you provide? This is why I made certain other allegations. Allegation number 2, Then I'll come to allegation number 3. Now, they say, he bought Rosma on credit card. I think a Chanel watch. Okay. If you take 99.99% of the money was not used on Datuk Sri Najib or his family. They were sent either for political purposes, some sent to UMNO, some sent to CSR. See, the two companies were CSR company. You know which company? Ehsan Perdana is one, and the other one is Gandengan Mentari. Both are set up. Gandengan Mentari was set up as CSR company for SRC. And Ehsan Perdana was set up as CSR company for 1 MDB. So it is for that reason Jolo and the people in SRC have rerouted it through these two companies so that Datuk Sri Najib will not be suspicious where this money come from. Okay? Because as I told you, he never checked. Prime Minister will never check. I don't check. I have not seen my account. My son here will tell you, I have not seen my account. Maybe for the last 30 years. And my firm is tiny. There is no way I can check. I have to rely on my accountant. If my accountant play me out, I'm dead. Okay? Now, so 99.99% he spent on that. This so-called Chanel watch, he must have had no other alternative, buy that first using that particular credit card. So where is this element of bad intention? And also, he bought it for about what? I think a couple of $100,000 US, that watch. How do you know that watch, the money that he paid for, was not from the real Saudi money, which is, remember I told you about 700 odd million that actually came from Saudi? How do you know that it is not from there? But he said, I have not used for my personal except for that, and the rest all have gone to CSR. And there is another interesting thing. This we will submit on Tuesday. They make a big hoo-ha about, hey, why did he return the money? 620 million US. He returned the money after the election. He gave evidence, but the prosecution chose not to read it. He said, after the election, we have won. Slightly lesser in majority, but we won. The king gave it to me so that I will return to power because of global development in Muslim countries. Remember, immediately after that, you had the Arab Spring. Indonesia was having ultra-Muslims, Philippines and Thailand. And he said, yours is the only country, ultra-Muslim have not read their ugly face. And he said, this contribution is for you to return to power. It's not because he loved Najib. It's because Najib happens to be the leader. If Muhyiddin was the leader at that time and he met the king, it will be Muhyiddin who got this to make sure that the liberal Muslim country remain a liberal Muslim country. Okay? So, he said, I got the money. I spent for the election about 300 odd million ringgit. And then I found 2.6 billion was still in my account. You know why 2.6 billion? When they sent, it was 685. 685 when they sent, it was 2.6 billion Malaysian. But when he sent back 620 million US, the exchange rate improved in our favor. That means our money drops. So it was still 2.6 billion, although he has used 300 million. You understand? So he sent back. The question was, why did you send back? And why didn't you send it to the king? The money that came, 685, came from Singapore account, which Datuk Sri Najib, neither anybody except perhaps somebody else, would know this money that came from Singapore is from where? Datuk Sri Najib assumed, because the Arabs donate money, do not want them to be associated with it. They do not want to be. It's not like a typical Muslim concept. If the right hand give, even the left hand must not know. So Datuk Sri Najib thought, okay, the money, it doesn't matter. We are expecting 1 billion US from the Arab, and about 1 billion US came, which makes it 2.6 at that time. Okay, about that much came. So why should he be suspicious? All right, that's the answer. Why did he send it? Where did he send it? He sent it to the same people account that sent it to him, because he doesn't know who is behind the account. He instructed the bank, and this is another interesting one. He told the bank, please remit this money, the one that I received from donation of the Arabs, back to the same account, because I do not need to use it anymore because the election is over. That was the testimony. So he did provide the reason. There's nothing ridiculous about it. Why did you take from the king and then you send it to Singapore? It's because it came through Singapore. Some came from Riyadh, some came from Singapore, and some may have come from elsewhere. So the biggest chunk, 685, came from Singapore account. He does not know who is the account holder. So he sent back after the election, the remainder, because he said, I felt not comfortable, too much money in my private account. So that brings you another interesting question. If he is a scoundrel, a thief, the money has come into his account, why send back? You already got it. After all, you're a prime minister. As Tommy Thomas said, he escaped because he was a prime minister, all-powerful. So if you're all-powerful, you brought so much money, you stole it from SRC, why send it back? Okay? Now, so far, do you have any question? I think I've covered almost all. Yeah, almost all I've covered.
So what do you think of the appeal hearing so far?
I think the judges are very interested. I think the judges in the Court of Appeal, I see that they are very troubled by the ingredients of Section 23, which is abuse of power. They're very troubled by the ingredients of Section 409, which is CBT. Okay? The AMLA thing is consequential. If you win the two sets of charges, AMLA will fall automatically. Now, there are a lot of questions being asked as to, in CBT, for instance, the judges were very concerned about this shadow director finding by the judge. You will hear this from Tuesday. And in fact, you'll be quite shocked by what we're going to say, because we just found out there's a lot of nonsense in the finding by the learned judge, with the greatest of respect. Okay? Even legally, it is completely unsound. All right? Is there any other question?
You feel a good chance that the appeal will be allowed?
We are always confident. In fact, from the High Court, I thought the defense ought never have been called. That's always been our situation. When the defense was called, I was shocked, but I thought maybe the judge want to play safe. Okay? But of course, the situation changed now, and I am as confident as I was in the High Court. But let's see. Okay? Anything else? That's it? Thank you.